Hello and welcome to Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name is Jeff.
And my name is Paul.
Well, Paul, I'm going to put a couple of questions to you, Paul.
Go on in.
Have you seen the fantastic photos of the Flux cast with all the different coloured backgrounds, big metallic background, blues and purples and yellows?
Yes, I have seen those. Who could fail to have seen them?
Yeah,
they were everywhere.
They are everywhere, aren't they? And have you seen the brilliant behind-the-scenes photos that were taken during Flux and also Series 12 and 11 as well?
I have, Jeff. I've seen a lot of those things.
Well, I wonder, dear listeners, if you've seen them as well, because tonight I'm giving us the opportunity to chat with the photographer behind those photos, Mr. James Pardon.
James Pardon himself. Wow.
Indeed. So that's probably enough from us. So shall we get into things with James?
Let's have that chat right now. Let's go. Hello, James.
How are you?
Yeah, good. You can hear me okay then?
Yeah, got you loud and clear.
Yeah,
smashing.
James, the first thing that we wanted to sort of ask about was what inspired your interest in photography?
That's a big question.
I kind of got in photography when it went digital, pretty much. I didn't do much with film. Had a few sort of old film cameras when I was younger, but it was never really something I was that interested in. I've got like an IT background prior to doing photography, so I'm quite kind of geeky and gadgety that way. So when things started going digital, it was kind of an interest just to have a play with it, really. So that was my sort of introduction to kind of holding a camera, really. Me and my brother both sort of were interested in it, and we started messing around, just kind of doing photos personally, playing with light and flash and stuff. And then from learning photography, experimenting, we ended up sort of being asked to photograph a friend's wedding, which is quite a jump from kind of just being as a hobby to do it. But we thought, we'll give it a go. There was no budget or anything. It was kind of as a mate's, a mate thing, and that went really well. And off the back of that, we got a few other people that wanted theirs doing. So we did those, kind of built it up and thought, this is all right. We're sort of enjoying this. So we started our own wedding photography business. So we did that for a couple of years. But it's never really sort of a passion that we wanted to do. It was just something that kind of we fell into. So from that, we kind of tried different things. My brother went and did more automotive stuff. So he works a lot in the car industry. He's probably got to be the top 5 automotive photographers in the world, I'd say. He does a lot of the, promotional stuff for the big brands like Ferrari, Bentley. He's doing the Williams F1 team at the minute, so he's busy doing that. I did similar. I sort of work with car magazines, doing sort of that kind of stuff, automotive bits and pieces. I tried my hand at working with architects and sort of high-end homes, photographing them. So quite really sort of trying every aspect of photography, which kind of moving into the TV stuff really helps because it's quite varied in what you're actually doing. You're taking portraits one minute, you're capturing scenes and, sets the next, maybe props, lighting. So it really does encompass quite a broad range of skills that you learn and need to pick up. It kind of went that way. I mean, I'm a huge TV and movie person anyway. So that's my kind of interest. So I didn't even know this kind of job existed. I kind of researched it more and more, and that's where I kind of, focused my attention. So that's how I kind of ended up doing this.
Oh, interesting. So did you target that industry specifically then? So once you knew it existed and you thought, well, that's what I'd be interested in, did you kind of focus? You just went for it?
Yeah, I mean, I really kind of, I love all the behind the scenes stuff. I've got a load of books sort of behind the scenes of movies and productions, and I'm always watching, used to watch videos on behind the scenes of how stuff's made. And I always found it fascinating, the whole way, the way things are created and filmed and how it's all put together. So that's something I wanted to kind of get in on. That's where I wanted to work, but not necessarily doing photography. And then I kind of realized, well, if these pictures are appearing, someone's got to be taking them. What kind of job's that? And that's where I kind of did my research. And when you actually look at it, there's not a lot out there. There's no sort of, this is how you get into this job. This is what you've got to do. It's quite a very niche job, and there's not a huge amount of people that do it. So it was a lot of sort of asking about, trying to contact people that are already in that job. Trying to get experience, speaking to publicity people, saying, how can I get involved in this? So it was a bit of a grind, but eventually, get the first job, and the second it kind of goes on from there.
Yeah. Was there quite a lot of knockbacks then? A few rejections first before you kind of landed the first few gigs?
I mean, I kind of the way I tried to do it was working on a lot of small productions or student film things or independent things for free, just to try to build up kind of a portfolio that I could then take to people and go, look, this is some of the stuff I've done. I can take a nice picture. Would you like to maybe try me on any future projects? And a lot of the time it would be, we'll keep you in mind. We've got your details. But until you've got something of any real merit or, sort of, if you've worked on something that's been big before, you're not really going to be able to get in there, because they need to be able to trust you to
of course,
to deliver, really. So I did a lot of that for 1 or 2 years of working on indie stuff, and I had a small portfolio, but it didn't get me very far. And the next step was I was contacting sort of people already in the industry and saying, can I come and help out? Can I come and assist you? Carry your bags and make your coffee. I just want to kind of be there and absorb it and learn, see what it does, and see if it's actually something I want to do from being there. So that was my kind of routine, sort of assisting and helping people.
I think it's really interesting there, because it's not dissimilar to mine in a way. I used to shoot weddings a lot in the past, and like you said, it's not necessarily something that you want. I'm not sure many people kind of set out to be wedding, videographers or photographers. But what it is good at is teaching you how to cope in particularly stressful situations when you've got one shot. That bride's only going to walk down the aisle once. You're not going to be able to go and ask
you
her
can't
to do
miss
something
it. You
again.
can't ask them to redo it.
No. And a little story, I was doing a wedding once on my own. So the guy that I was shooting for, he said this couple have just booked a single camera. It's all fairly straightforward, registry office, blah, blah, blah. Yep, okay, it sounds fine. So I got given the timings for the day and stuff. Dances at 8:30. Okay, sounds fine, I'll be ready for that. So about 8 o'clock, I went out, shot exteriors of the building at night, came back in at about 8:10. They're bloody dancing. I thought, oh my God. And I quickly got the camera up, grabbed what I could, and I phoned the guy and I said, look, I'm really sorry this has happened. And he said, well, we had a schedule. That's not what they've gone early. So, it's fine. But my heart, sunk on that.
I know, yeah.
But it's, I'm sure we've all been there with things like that. But like you said, so then you started doing kind of cars and things like that. And I think having that breadth of experience dealing with, people, which is a huge part of what we do, and interacting with them, directing them, things, also dealing with inanimate stuff and lighting them and things like that. I think those kind of skills are what can enable you to get further in the field and do more work, because you're able to turn your hand to more things. And also it's interesting that you kind of learn on the job in a way, because I went to uni and I'm not sure. Well, my tutor was not the nicest person in the world, but I probably learned more outside of it than I did there. In truth, and if I went back now, I don't know if I'd do it again. So I think my point is that you can get somewhere partly through making the hard work of making contact with people and meeting people like you did, but also having that eye and that that skill and that knowledge as well, like you did as well. So I think it's it's certainly a path that works, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, I don't think you could. It's not a job you could go straight into. Just from knowing how to use a camera to go and do that, because you do definitely sort of the jobs I've had previously, I've called on a lot of the stuff I've learned from doing that to do these types of jobs, because a lot of the time you turn up on a day and you've no idea what's going on. You've just been asked to be there this day. You'll get maybe a call sheet the night before, and from a few lines of text you kind of work out, well, okay, you're in this set doing this, but you've no idea what the lighting is or what the action is going to be. So you've got to be kind of mentally prepared and to be able to have a kind of a previous experience of a variety of things, dark churches, etc., or sunny days. You've got to be able to work very quickly and understand what you need to do to work that day.
That's it, yeah, and having that confidence in your own abilities and skills that you can go into a situation like that where you basically don't know what's going to get thrown at you and still be able to deal with it and not be where you probably are, crapping it to an extent, but it's I still get that from time to time, but I'm confident enough in what I do to know I can handle a lot of stuff without a huge amount of prep in advance for it.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is having confidence in yourself to know that you know what you're doing. Because I mean, a lot of the time there are different elements to the kind of photography that I do, but when you're trying to get a specific shot and you may be asked to get that time with the actors, you might get it and you get maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds if you're lucky. You're not there for minutes and minutes, and it's literally, here's your time, you're done. So if you mess it up, you've missed out. So you've got to kind of have the confidence in yourself to to bang in the right settings, get the shot and get out of there.
Yeah. And that's when experience doing weddings and things like that helps, because it's still a very similar situation, isn't it? You've only got that actor for, let's say, 10-15 seconds or something. So what advice would you give to people who want to get into the work that you do, your line of work?
So I mean, probably what I mentioned before, to get into this line of work would be I think the best way is assisting, to kind of have that on-set experience, to be there and see how it happens, see what goes on. And you might find that it's not the right, it's not the job you want to do, because it's very long hours. There's a lot of travel. It can be quite boring some of the time, where you're standing around for hours on end waiting for something to happen. But I really enjoy it, and there's days that are just fantastic. So it's a big mixed bag, but definitely assist. That's a really good sort of experience. But in terms of sort of building up a skill set, things like just shooting as much as possible. Portraits, weddings, really good. Maybe assist on weddings, that kind of thing. And go and work on, say, student films or productions. I found there's a lot of websites out there that you will have people asking for help. They'll list their production, what they're doing. It might be like a university project or just a small independent film. And you can say to them, they may not specifically be asking for photographers, but you can say, look, I'm offering to come and take some photos that you can use to publicize, stick on your DVD cover or whatever. Get on that and build up some experience that way. So that's what I did, and that seemed to work quite well.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach to it. I don't think you have to kind of go to uni and do all that route for it.
No, I mean, I don't even think there's a uni route for this specific type of job, really. That's the thing I found when trying to work out how do you get into this job. There's no real guide of, you go and do this course, you get this qualification, then you can go and get the job. It doesn't exist. It's purely based on experience and your own creativity and working off the back of that.
We sort of developing your craft as you go, I guess, isn't it? I mean, I suppose there must be an element of knowing your kit, so knowing what effects you can achieve with a certain lens, with aperture settings and shutters and all that kind of stuff. That those kind of technicalities. But once you've got those under your belt, I suppose it's a case of being creative, being experimenting around, and practice. I guess.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, definitely knowing your kit inside out. So it's it's an extension of yourself. You don't have to think about, how do I dial that in or change a setting. You've got to be able to do it on a split second. And as I say, it's just creativity. You've got to kind of say, when you're on set, you can watch the action and you can kind of work out what would be a good shot. Where would I be? If I can get the time. And you kind of you play it in your head what might work well, and try and you feed off that, really.
Yeah, it's anyone can use a camera to an extent, can't they? But it's having the eye for things and also that
confidence
to deal with people.
The frame. walking around doing that stuff, but you see it without having to do that thing with the hands. I've just done a thing with the fingers, listeners. The stupid thing that cartoon directors do.
I should have screenshotted that.
I mean, it's
you don't have to screenshot.
It's easier. It's definitely easier now more than ever to get a good picture. Cameras are so good for focus and being sensitive to light and whatnot, and lenses are fantastic. I mean, even your iPhone takes such good photos.
Yes, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. It does now, doesn't it? Yeah, crikey,
it's just
really
it's definitely knowing your kit and what you can get from it, and say, as you say, being creative.
Yeah. So, what was your first professional project that you got then?
In TV?
Or any of it really. What was the first? What was the first thing that you got paid to do? I suppose that's always quite a good, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it probably would have been a wedding. I think after we'd done a few sort of free ones as favors, we started getting paid to do the weddings. We did that for a few years. Then it was sort of the car stuff and the architecture and the houses. And then moving on from that to TV, my first thing was it was probably Doctor Who. So I've been doing the TV. I haven't been doing it that long. I've been probably doing it 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Right.
But I did. I think it was on Peter's second season. I started doing days.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
okay. Brilliant. I'll come on to that in a moment. I did one of the first jobs I did was for a Blues Brothers tribute band, and we playing live, and we'd agreed. I think it was 60 quid for the shoot.
60 quid
banger.
That would cover your train fare, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And we did it. There was 4 of us filming it, and one of the Blues Brothers gave us an envelope with the money, and we got in the car afterwards, and there was 100 quid in there. And I said, he's given us 100 quid, and the others were like, "Oh, bonus!" And I said, "But what if it's a trap? What if this is a test about how honest we are?" And I phoned the. Said, you've given us too much, and he said, no, you've done a brilliant job,
That's nice.
And I'm still working for him with his he does
that's good.
planning and stuff almost 20 years later, so being cautiously honest worked out quite well there, I think. So before we talk more a bit about Doctor Who, what other work of yours would people have seen that they'll that they would probably recognize?
I mean, for the last 3 or 4 years, it's mainly been Who, because it's such a long filming time. It's like most of the time. I mean, alongside Flux, last I did the Outlaws.
We saw.
Yeah. Stephen Merchant's thing.
And Christopher Walken's in it, isn't he? That's so weird.
Yeah, he is. Because I'm in Bristol, so I did that alongside Doctor Who. What else was I recently? I did the Trial of Christine Keeler. That was a couple of years back. Salisbury Poisonings.
Yes.
That sort of came out at the start of last year, I think. And a few other bits that haven't been released yet. So that's where my time's been taken up recently.
Right. Okay. So, how did you get involved with Doctor Who then? I didn't realise that you were involved as far back as Peter's time on it. So, it is quite a long time then.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem, it kind of goes really quick, but I did a bit on Peter's. I didn't do his first season, but the second and third, and that was mainly assisting another photographer, basically helping out. And then it was the start of Jodie's that I kind of actually started doing more and more, and that was working alongside another photographer called Ben, lovely guy. So for the first series of Jodie's, it was kind of 2 of us, kind of alternating, and then Ben went on to do. He got offered a film to do, which when you're on a movie, you're there pretty much every day, so there's no time to do anything else. Right. So I kind of took the bulk of the work then. And he rang me and sort of said, "Are you okay? Would be taking on my load of work as well." And I kind of had to do the best acting and saying, "Oh, such a shame," But really, I was thinking, "Yes, get in, that's great."
I have to get on with it, aren't I suppose?
I'm sorry you're leaving. Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly.
So you covered then a lot of Series 11 and predominantly all of 12 and 13 then. So how frequently are you on set during filming? Because I've seen obviously quite a lot of behind the scenes photos and things, and you can see that's from, that episode and that one, things like that. But like you said, particularly for Flux, it was a long schedule, wasn't it? And, are you there most days? I mean, I suppose that's one part of the question. And the other part is there loads of images that we haven't yet seen?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sent there on days. It's the publicity team, the pictures team that will email me and say, can you do these days? And I've no idea what those days entail, but it's usually it depends what's being filmed at that time. And they're not going to send a photographer there if it's all green screen for the week, because you're just not going to use those images.
Well, unless you want some behind the scenes, I suppose.
Well, there's days there where you might get a bit of green screen, you get some behind the scenes stuff, but it's usually if there's it depends to say what's being filmed. If there's loads of action going on, loads of scenes, loads of actors on set, I'll be there maybe a couple of days a week. Sometimes it could be one day this week and then nothing for 2 weeks, and sometimes I'm there 5 days a week. Very rarely, but it probably averages out to maybe 2 or 3 days a week.
So you really are there for a huge amount of it then. That's brilliant.
A good chunk, yeah.
So, good chunk. So ages ago, the official account tweeted out a selection of photos, and I said, I replied and said, these are so good, you should put them in a book because, all the behind the scenes shots have been so good. But how do you go about capturing those kind of candid moments? Is there, I remember when I was doing weddings, a lot of kind of lurking. When someone would say, "Oh, we didn't even know you were here," but you could be offended, but actually you think, "Wow, that's brilliant." I didn't want you to know I was here. So I know. You're doing those kind of BTS shots like that, but also, portrait stuff with the cast as well, which we can talk a bit more about in a moment. But it's quite different doing both of them. So how do you approach that kind of capturing the
lurking?
It's a real mix. It's, as I say, it's a great. That's the closest thing you'll get to weddings. It's what they call it. Is it a reportage, where you're kind of you're just photographing things as it happens. You're not sort of saying, "Do you mind posing?" or setting people up. You're just shooting stuff as it happens.
Yeah.
I think they're the best photos, especially for kind of behind the scenes stuff, because it's that kind of unseen moment. It's no one's aware of you, and you can get actually what's happening, as it happens, and that's what makes it a bit special. But yeah, it's a very kind of a very privileged to have this job, I think, because I get to just wander around as I please, kind of photographing what I want, and that maybe that's wandering into the costume room and seeing Ray and all of the the outfits there, wandering around the sets, just kind of sticking my head in, thinking that'd make a cool photo, or hanging with the camera guys and doing as they film. So it's quite it's a nice job to do.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of I'm obviously very. You kind of try and cover the cast as much as possible. So depending on what's being filmed, I might go and sort of follow the actors, maybe Jodie and Manip, and try and get some behind the scenes stuff, or them just behind, chilling out, whatever. So it's a big mix, and there are an awful lot of photos you don't see, thousands and thousands. But
I was going to ask.
The hardest thing is.
Yeah.
Selecting which ones you're going to use, I suppose. If it's anything like my holiday snaps, there's like literally billions of them, and I'll select one and then crop it down to the best bit.
So say for Flux, there's probably something about 200,000 images from that scene.
Yeah, my question was, did you have a number? Yes. Wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah. So you're just changing subject slightly. For a moment, I've always, like you, seeing kind of behind the scenes photos and stuff. I'm fascinated to see.
Same. I think it's a fanish thing to a degree as well, isn't it? We all like to know how things are made and have those little windows into the back room stuff,
and to see the cast and stuff of something interacting together. But have you got a favorite or a couple of favorite books, James, that are your kind of were behind the scenes books that really made a big impression on you, or anything that you'd recommend to anyone?
I've got a couple. But I think the first one I bought was probably a James Bond one, with
yes,
Pierce Brosnan.
Paul's a bomb. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a Pierce Brosnan one. I can't remember what it's called. I've got it here. Where is it?
I knew we'd get a James Bond reference into one of our podcasts. Yeah, so
I think this was the first one I got, which is Greg Williams' Bond on set.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's just it's a nice glossy book with loads of behind the scenes and sort of unit stuff from the actual show. And it's stuff you never really see unless you kind of, you want to dig it out. But it's full of great stuff, and that's what really interested me. So to be able to kind of produce the same sort of things is great fun. And as you say, they should do a book. That'd be great.
Yeah, they really should.
Oh, definitely.
One of the best I ever read was a making of the first Avatar film. It's a huge book, but it details everything and
huge film.
Well, it's a huge film, yeah. But the photography and design work and stuff for the creatures, it really kind of it gave I think probably from all the books I've read, the best kind of look into the making of something, and all the different things. It was absolutely brilliant book. So just moving on then. So you often have to direct the actors, don't you, for photos? For kind of portraits, promo shots, and things like that. So how do you go about doing that? Because obviously it's very different from the kind of reportage style stuff. Is it quite collaborative, and are you left to your own devices, or do you have a sort of lot of input from the showrunners of the BBC, or how do you kind of do it?
I mean, it depends on what the kind of shot is. I mean, a lot of the stuff is you could break down the type of photography into kind of behind the scenes unit, which is shooting as stuff's being filmed, that goes alongside the actual filming. Sort of the portrait style shots where if I can get 30 seconds with the cast after they finish filming and they're changing a lens, I might say, can I jump in for 30 seconds and get some shots?
Yeah.
And that's where you maybe suggest, maybe if you could stand here or look at, you two look together or whatever and snap a few shots. There's that kind of thing. And then there's the more dedicated time where I'll have a kind of a mini studio set up somewhere, wherever there's space in one of the studios with a load of lights, background. And we'll get the cast in whatever outfits they're in and kind of shoot a whole bunch of shots, different angles, different poses, which the publicity team and the production will actually then put together for things like the posters and they'll use in magazines, books, merchandise, things like that. So it's a good mix of photography.
Can I just ask? Do they come to you with a brief for that kind of thing? Then is it like they've got an idea of the kind of look and feel they want, or do they leave you to your own creative devices?
Sometimes you get a bit of a brief. It's usually quite generic, and it's usually just grabbing as much variety as possible, because a lot of the time it's never a specific. This is the image we want to get or create. Or this is the look we're going for. It's just a whole bunch of different angles, different poses that they can then review and go, okay, well, let's try this. So it's a huge variety. I mean, you do get a slight angle of, this is the kind of thing we're trying to produce. So you kind of go for that, or in terms of lighting, maybe. So you can adjust things for that. But it's a big variety of images. I mean, from a sort of a studio style shot, I might take 200-300 shots per person. So they've got a lot of options to comp together and do what they want with.
Yeah. So my next question was, so there's obviously quite a lot of kind of editing and Photoshop work on things. So do you do that, or is that someone else does that? Because we were talking, weren't we, the other day? I said, was this one of your pictures? And the head was, but the body wasn't. And I looked at the picture again. I was like, wow, you couldn't tell at all. So
no, they do some great. I mean, a lot of the sort of the unit stuff. So things that are from an episode as they're filming, that's always I'll grade and edit that and remove any sort of boom mics and things that might be in shot. So I'll grade them. So pretty much everything that I've seen go out is how I gave it to them. Things that go on like posters or are comped together, that'll go through sort of the BBC team. Some very talented people there. Unfortunately, I don't know their names. I'd love to know who does it, that create the posters and stuff. Because when you see the stuff I take, and it's just a kind of on a grey background, and then you see the result, they do a fantastic job. but that's all.
Yeah,
the
poster
that must be really something, mustn't it? Sorry, Jeff, go on.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that the poster work, all of the photography across this era has just been fantastic. It's so kind of
been really good,
bright,
so
and vibrant.
That's the word, vibrant.
I saw a tweet today, maybe the other day, from chap we know, Cooper Hillier, and he's been doing various kind of fan Photoshop posters and things like that. But he's with the 3 kind of iconic images that were used across these series, and he said, well, maybe you sort of, but why is the artwork from this era the best or something? And it, of likes on it, and
I did see that one.
It's been really well received.
Great.
So when you see
all the fan art as well that gets produced is amazing. The stuff people kind of put together on, and the artwork they produce, it's really good. It's really nice to see.
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of the fan art then, James? Do you kind of follow it? Do you keep an eye on people who are doing stuff?
I don't really follow stuff, but because I'm putting out stuff on my Instagram and social, that's what gets referred back to me as sort of recommended content. So because I'm tagging Doctor Who, that's pretty much all gets. I load up Twitter and it's just a whole bunch of, you might be interested in this and this and this, and it's kind of thrown back at you.
But when you see something that really kind of catches your eye, do you kind of think, okay, that's pretty good, or is it more like, what on earth is that?
No, I mean, some of the stuff, some of the posters and things people have created is really good. A lot of the mashup of the characters and the Master and Jodie and that kind of stuff. They look great, really good.
Yeah, there's been some brilliant stuff. Yeah. So when you're out and about and you're at Sainsbury's or whatever, and you see a picture you've taken on the front of a magazine, or it's on a book, or whatever it might be, how does it feel? And secondary to that, what's the oddest thing you've seen your work on?
No, it is good. It's really nice to kind of see that stuff, because I don't get told where it's going or where it's going to appear. Literally, it is, as you say, you just walk in somewhere and you'll see it on a DVD or a Blu-ray or a magazine, and you think, oh, that's cool, that's one of mine, is it? Or you think, is that one of mine? Because maybe it's an old one, but it's really nice to see. And you do get a big variety of things it appears on, because it's international. There's a lot of Chinese stuff. That you think, oh, what's that? And you see your picture, and I think I'm trying to think oddest place. I don't know. It's probably on like some sort of box art for some toy or something on. No, I've not been sort of shocked of where I've seen stuff, but it's there is a lot out there. Yeah. It's really really nice to see. It's all the magazines.
Yeah. So there's probably a toilet roll holder or something that's got a sticker of Jodie's face on it. It's been botched together from a couple of shots.
I think
the board game.
I remember
David. Good.
I remember David Tennant talking in an interview once. He saw his face on a pair of pants once in that's when I realised it's quite big doing this show.
Hey, David Tennant pants are big news, mate.
Well, I still got to get.
They're very important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So when you keep Peter Capaldi's attack eyebrows on a pair of Y fronts, that's when you've got to start drawing lines.
So, James, out of all the pictures you've taken, I wanted to ask, what was your favourite behind-the-scenes photo and your favourite specific cast member photo? But I thought it might be quite good to find out a bit more about all the different setups that you did. The kind of the set sort of photo shoots that people might recognise and then be able to kind of identify as being yours. So I've just thrown about three or four questions at you.
So I think, as I say, there's so many, and there's only there's the ones I know that aren't published. Because I might on a day I might take say 2,000 pictures. Typically, I'll supply them to the BBC maybe 10% after I've gone through them and think that's that one there, that'll work, and then from there they will whittle down the ones that they want to use. So it gets shrunk down quite a lot. But in terms of behind the scenes stuff, there's a really nice one of Tosin in black and white, sat just in a chair with the lights. That was quite nice. I quite like that one.
You've got that on your site, haven't you? Yeah.
Probably, yeah. As I say, I've got a lot of behind the scenes that never get published.
That's beautiful.
And a lot of my favorite photos are kind of ones of just crew and cast mixing, smiling. It brings back a lot of nice memories. So they're the ones I like. It really is a family atmosphere there. It's such a terrific cast and crew, and I'm not just saying that. It's such a lovely show to work on. So having photos of that are the ones I kind of look back on fondly.
That's definitely
in terms of the. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, I think looking at the behind the scenes photos and reading interviews with people, and you'll have seen this as well, Paul. That family atmosphere and people having a good time is absolutely clear in the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's one I'm looking on your website, James, which is Jodie and Sacha Dhawan under a brolly, just having a good old laugh together.
Oh yeah. It's ones like that, isn't it?
Electrifying. Yeah, it's brilliant. I love those sort of things. I think they're great.
And it's great. And you see them chat like that as mates, and then you watch them 3 seconds later going at it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So were you going to say about your favourite sort of cast member photo as well? Kind of posed portrait type.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had with Flux, we did a photo day in London, which was just a day purely for photography. It was a bunch of different kind of shoots going on at once. There was a Radio Times shoot, the one I was doing, and another one where the cast just kind of moved back and forth through the studios throughout the day, and we were grabbing loads of shots. And they're the ones where it was Jodie Mann and John on sort of the metallic background.
Yes.
With the blues and the yellows, and that was a really nice day. Those images got used a lot, and they were probably my favourite ones I've done.
They're
kind of dedicated photography time. They came out really nicely. But in terms of kind of the other pictures, I create for casting crew each year. I create a book. You're mentioning books, which we kind of put out, and that's just full of my favourite shots and casting crew. So I kind of produce these.
You got one there. Look at that.
That is just full of casting crew.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant. So
our listeners can't see it, so we should describe it, shouldn't we?
The listeners can't see it, but Paul and I are very jealous to see that. And earlier, the BBC should put out a book, and it's there.
So that they're the ones I like the most. I stick them in a book, so they're for kind of keepsakes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Have you got quite a few of those books then, James?
I've only done for Who. I've obviously done the first 2 series of Jodie's. They're done. I'm making the final one now, which takes ages. Just going back through all the images.
Yeah, there's still stuff to come for those, isn't there?
Yeah.
So just a sort of technical question for a minute. So those photos that you had, like the metallic background, what did you use to light those with? Because obviously you've got quite a lot of strong colours going on there.
Yeah, so I mean, typically on a studio day where, in Cardiff, it'll be a kind of a mobile setup with flash lighting. Whereas the London day was actually different. I had 2 setups, one for the flash setup, which we used to capture some more character shots, and then had another set to the side, which was the metallic one, and that was actually kind of huge LED light banks that you could just adjust the colors infinitely.
Right.
So that was 2 big LED lights with a third white light in the middle that we could adjust. So it was kind of the day was just playing with colors, see what looked best on them and the outfits, and we kind of settled on, I think it was like the blue and the yellows and purples and blues that seemed to fit nicely.
Yeah,
so it was a day of adjusting them and shooting lots.
Yeah, they look great. Yeah, really good. So like you said, this really is a strong family atmosphere with everything. So what's it like being working with Jodie and Mandip and the rest of the cast as well? Obviously, Bradley and Tosin and then John, but all the guests as well. And have you got any kind of specific memories of good moments that you could share as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I say, it's a real family atmosphere. I mean, I've worked on loads of different sets, different people, different crew, and nothing gels as nicely as Who. I mean, you turn up, it's a bunch of familiar faces. I mean, a lot of the crew there have been there for years. they always come back to it, and that just kind of proves how nice it is to work there. And it's everything from everyone from production, down to all the grips, the camera guys, the sound guys, costume, makeup, hair. Everyone knows everyone, and it's a really nice. You turn up, everyone's just pleased to see you. It's really weird. And say it's not like a normal job, but it is great, and it's a very 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 privileged job to have, definitely. But to say it's every day is fun there. There's never been a day I've been there where I've not wanted to go back or had a rubbish day. It's always been it was great.
And also because a lot of this kind of work, filming, photography, you go somewhere, maybe it's just for a day and you meet people and that's it, and you might never see them again, or you're there for a couple of weeks, couple of months or whatever. But you've been there for a really long time on this, which is quite unusual in a way, I think, isn't it, in this line of work? And it's probably enabled you to build up real friendships and relationships.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in sort of my job in particular, it's sometimes you'll go to a job, you might be there just a couple of days for that TV show because it's a short run, and you don't know anyone. You're kind of the odd one out that's not necessarily there to help that day's filming. You're almost there getting in the way, hindering the day because you need to get a few shots and take a bit of time. So that's where Who's different, because it's a nice long run, and they do heavily use photos to publicize and help the show. So you do get to know people, as you say, and that's why it's a really nice job to have, definitely.
So obviously alongside the cast, you get to take pictures of all the monsters as well. So what's that like, working with those, and are they as scary in real life as they are on screen?
Yeah, it's different. As I say, it's bizarre because you'll turn up one day, having been there the previous week, and you're on a completely different set. You're on a spaceship one day, and then you're in a temple 2 days later, and there's a Dalek or there's a Cyberman, and it's quite funny because it's a lot of the same guys in the outfits. And you'll just be sat there in between takes having a chat about what you had for lunch to a Dalek or a Cyberman. And it does become normal, but when you think about it, it is quite odd.
Yeah, when you step out,
it's kind of bizarre.
The Daleks, because a lot of the time you don't know they're in there. They'll be quite, they'll be stationary, and you could lean on one, and then they'll say, "How you doing, James?" You think, "Oh, I forgot you were there."
Especially with the voice, So what's it like down at Rothlock? Because I don't know if it's closing there, because obviously the production's moving to Bad Wolf, isn't it? But is it quite big down there? And what's it like as a sort of production facility?
Yeah, it's nice. It is quite big. It's not just Doctor Who that's filmed there. There's sort of a Welsh TV series called Publicum, which is kind of like I think it's like a Welsh EastEnders type program, which takes up a few studios. And then there's also it's not Casualty, it's the other one.
Holby, isn't it?
Holby, I think.
Holby?
It's one of the other one of those two, and that's the other part of the studios. But Who takes up sort of, I think it's 4 of the big studios down the road. And they're typically just jam packed full of sets. The minute they're finished on one, you're filming another, they're ripping it down and they're building something else. So it's all go, but it's a nice studio, as I say. But they're moving to down the road, which is only about a mile down the road, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what that's like.
So did you have kind of a last day at the studio space? You it was the last sort of day of work for you on it, and before it was all closing, because Matt Stevens was talking in Doctor Who Mag this month about he took did you read that? Yeah, Paul, he took a walk around the studios.
I read it, yeah.
They were all empty, and he said it was sort of filled with good memories, but quite sort of bad as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I know that kind of Matt was there longer than I was, obviously kind of being part of production there, and they got the offices there. But my last day, obviously there was a lot of sets still set up, but I know they were sort of starting to pull kit out of the TARDIS and things like that, and so I think a lot of the stuff was still there. But yeah, my last day was at Rothlock.
Right.
Yeah, it was quite sad, quite emotional to say goodbye to everyone, because you kind of you see everyone for years and years.
Yeah,
but hopefully I'll see them again at some point.
Yeah, you should do. Yeah. So, like Jeff said, I think with the friendships and connections that you got, and it's I would imagine with a lot of these, you probably make friends for life, don't you?
Yeah, I mean,
at least you hope you would.
There's a lot of WhatsApp groups with people on, and I'm very friendly with the sound guys, the sound operators, and the boom operators, because that's typically who I would hang around with on set, especially a lot of the time, because where I'm standing is where they want to be, or where they're standing I want to be, because it's typically a good shot.
It's that battle for space. Yeah.
That's it.
If you don't get on with each other, you're kind of tripping each other up then, aren't you, I suppose?
Exactly. Yeah. You're a lot of the time as a photographer, you're the first one kicked off if there's no room.
Yeah.
So, James, was your last day the same last day that was Jodie's as well?
No. I think I did just a couple more days after that.
Okay.
They did film right up to the end, and there was just a few more days to pick up a few different pieces. So I did them, but just I think probably 2 or 3 more days after their final day.
So you were there then for a moment that is sure to probably destroy Paul and I when we watch it later,
and many other fans across the world.
I think so. Yeah, I don't want to say anything.
No, don't.
No.
I'll get crucified. But definitely.
You sound like you're baiting him, Jeff.
No, I wasn't. I was interested to see if you were there.
Well, I can see where this is going.
Yeah, but obviously you can't say anything. But it's
it's
exciting. What's to come, and obviously know things that we don't, which is quite cool.
So you've definitely got 2 episodes that are fantastic. I think from what I saw, you're really going to enjoy them.
Can't wait.
Brilliant. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Does that shot the Sea Devils is that one of yours, James?
Yep.
The Sea Devil. Yeah, the one that's out there.
Yeah, we were so.
I did both of those.
We were so excited by them, weren't we, Paul? Because for me, they were kind of the last, kind of classic creature I wanted to kind of see again. And when that little trailer, Alex, I was like, oh my god, they've done it. And so we went on.
They definitely pulled out some classic monsters. But I didn't know anything about them, and kind of you see them on set. And what is that? And then you have to go away and research it. But they do look good.
Yeah, they're really good.
I hope they choose some good pictures, because I know I've given them a load of nice photos, but I don't get to choose which ones they actually use. So hopefully they've got some good ones to come out.
Yes, there'll be more to come.
I'm just can I talk about that for a second, because I'm just looking on your Twitter page, James, and you've got a few shots on there which are out in the obviously in the public domain now. So things about with the Chinese pirates. I mean, those costumes, everything looks absolutely lush and rich. Is there anything more you can tell us about that we can kind of look forward to? Are we looking forward to a big, lavish, costume-filled, swashbuckling epic?
Yeah, I mean, especially the one that's coming up, the next one, it's definitely impressive. I mean, I don't want to say anything, but the sets involved, and from what because obviously I'm not there every day, but from what I saw, it does look like a fun one. Yeah,
brilliant.
Oh, that's brilliant! So, I can't wait.
Not long to wait.
No,
I know.
Actually, probably
it always feels like a long time though.
So, James, what are you working on next, or at the moment?
So, I mean, since the last episode of The Who was filmed, the industry kind of died down a bit over Christmas. It's starting to pick up again. I've done a few days on a comedy drama just recently, which has just finished. So at the minute, I've got nothing on at all, and I'm just fingers crossed that I can get back on the next Who, whenever that is, and whoever it's going to be. I'd love to get back on that. So that's what I'm really hoping to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you'd be back on it. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, I think my fingers are crossed. It's unfortunately it's never a given, especially with the move to the different studio and whatnot.
Yeah,
it might be a whole new crew, whole new direction. Don't know.
But hopefully the work that you've done will will be well known enough to kind of stand you in good stead for it.
Yeah, I hope so.
So we've got a couple of fan questions here, which we've sort of briefly covered actually, but Cooper Hillier that we mentioned earlier, he said
he sent 2 questions.
Yeah, he did. He tweeted us in the group chat, and he said, "Am I allowed to ask 2 questions?" We were like, "No, Cooper,
said, no, you can't ask anybody."
but we said, "Yeah, of course you can." So he said, of all the photography you've done across Jodie's, but also Peter's as well, I think. What promo image is your favourite and why? And we sort of did touch on that brief early. And how long does it normally take to shoot the promo images? So, you said some of them are really quick, but others aren't. So, say for like the press day you had in London, how long does it take you to set up for all of that?
Got you. So, I mean, probably your favourite images is the one that's had all the amazing sort of retouching work, the big poster shots, because they just look so kind of epic. To sort of see them from going from my shots to the finished result is like, wow, that's great. That's really high end and it's really impressive. Though a lot of those, the recent Flux ones are really good. I don't think my other favourite ones. Probably one of the first lot I did with the actual interior of the TARDIS. They were used an awful lot.
Yeah,
they appeared on sort of a lot of banners and sort of big prints with the TARDIS store and the sort of the smoke coming in. So they were used a lot. I'm quite pleased with those. They were nice. In terms of sort of how long it takes to shoot stuff, I say if you're shooting on the day as they film, it's literally seconds. It might be 10, 20 seconds you've got max before they've got to keep going because they really do, cramming a day's filming. And then doing stuff on sort of a background with my lights and things. I might have 10, 15 minutes throughout the day. You might have them for a few minutes and they've got to rush back to do another take, and then they come back and I'll get a few more minutes. So maybe 10, 15 minutes per person through the day. And then a day sort of we did in London, that was obviously get there nice and early, set it all up, test it all, and then you just shoot as much as we can throughout the day. Literally shooting thousands of stuff. So it's a whole day shooting, basically. And then you've got sort of another few days worth of going through the shots and editing them. That's whittling down the ones to use.
That's the side people don't always.
No,
that is it.
That's the unglamorous side.
Can I? Sorry, can I just add actually, because just on this subject, because I've got your webpage up here, James, and I'm looking at what I think are a bunch of shots that have come to be really iconic. Okay. I mean, things like the Cybermen kind of reaching out, which seems to have been everywhere. Was that a posed shot, or was it accidental, or was it?
That's a good shot. That's definitely one of my favorite ones as well, because to me that screams Doctor Who. There's no
absolutely
else that could be.
That's it. They come to encapsulate the program, don't they?
Yeah, I mean that was just I can't remember what season that was. Second season maybe. And that was literally just, I don't think nothing was happening at the time, and the Cybermen were sort of just waiting in one of these kind of pods. And I remember just saying to him, "Can we, while we're here, do you want to just get a few shots?" And we experimented with a few things and said, "Just reach your hand out as if you're trying to grab me," and snapped away. And that's definitely one of those worked out quite nicely. Those ones. So that's not in the show. Because just kind of playing.
Yeah. Just sort of playing with a few ideas and see what comes. Because when I was a kid, sort of growing up, you look at some of these images in magazines, and obviously no internet back in those days, because I'm that old. But they kind of etch themselves into your brain and become part of your life. Do you ever feel perhaps not so much a weight of responsibility, but an understanding perhaps that some of these shots that you take, which in some cases might just be casually taken in a snapshot, are going to burn themselves into certain people for life? Or is that too big a thing to kind of get your head around? And
also, they'll outlive us all as well, probably.
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
I mean, it's you do. There's a little bit of that. I mean, you are. There's a responsibility that. I mean, it's quite unlucky that I get to just turn up and show other people's amazing work, all the time and effort that's gone into building these things and designing them and lighting them, and I can kind of just rock up and go, that looks cool, I'll have a picture of that, and then I get to show and say, look at this. So there's a responsibility that I want to make it look good. And as you say, I mean, Doctor Who's, it's a it's a British institution. You know, it's everyone knows who it is, and I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and you can guarantee usually someone references Doctor Who at some point if it's a TV or film based podcast or a chat. So as you say, everyone knows who it is. So there is a slight, you know, you want to do it justice. So definitely playing around, and when you get a shot like the Cyberman one, I know when you see it on the back of the camera, you think that'll get used. You know, that's ticks all the boxes.
You kind of understand it. Yeah. Can I just say as well, another one which I'm looking at, which is Sacha Dhawana's The Master, standing in front of the hangar doors. I think it's Spyfall, and there's just like a column of light coming between the doors. He's in silhouette, and we get that lovely gradient of blue throughout. Again, was that because obviously that studio is lit, but what I think your pictures do is bring or transmit the life behind them. You know, they're literally fizzing off the screen when I'm looking at these things, and that again, whether it was accidental or posed, is absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, so that was a really nice day. I mean, part of my job is it's because it's all to do with light. And it's seeing what lights are available, what the DOP emits, and that's the nice thing about Doctor Who. It's not like a period drama where it's all natural light or very natural looking, made to look natural. Doctor Who's wild with they'll have crazy lighting and beams and shafts of light and colors everywhere. And for a photographer, it's great. You can rock up and go, this looks so good. I could have a guy stand here. I could try a shot over here. So it's as someone that's creative, it's a real playground. For me, and that day was fantastic because Sacha is amazing. He's one of the nicest people and so good to work with for photography. And I remember asking during the day, I think it was the first day I might have actually met him. I said, "Can I get a few shots?" And he was like, not, "Maybe can we do it later?" Because he's very focused. As an actor, he's superb. And I was like, "No, no worries."
So you don't
I didn't think it'd come back to me, but he, at the end of his what he was doing, he came and found me. He said, "Let's get some shots. Let's do it." And for a good sort of 15, 20 minutes, we just walked around this hangar, getting all this variety of shots, different angles, and the lighting there was great. So there's a whole bunch, but those ones were, stand in this bit of light here and I'll get you silhouetted. And to say there's probably kind of 20 or 30 variations, but they're the ones that are used. Yeah.
So there's a photo, and I'm assuming you took it, James. It's Jodie, and she's wearing one of the coats to keep warm, which I suppose is what all coats do. But it's a
well put, Jeff.
It's a film one, but she's giving a thumbs up, and it looks like she's in a warehouse of some sort. Do you know the one I mean? And that kind of.
I think I know the one you mean. It's like she's up against a wooden kind of
That's it. Yeah, wooden.
That was one of mine. Yeah, that was the Crimean episode.
Okay.
That was
it's a brilliant.
She was outside the British hospital.
Yeah.
I think it was just during a rehearsal, just before she's about to go in through the door, and you kind of point the camera, and Jodie's great at clocking you.
She obviously had and was comfortable.
She'll quickly pose.
Paul, did you?
I'll tell you what. I did. Just talking about the Crimean episode, because again, just looking through your website and just thinking back to what you were saying a minute ago about Doctor Who not being like a period drama, and but obviously Doctor Who does do or references period drama on occasion. But it seems to me when it does, again, there's almost like a heightened reality of it, and specifically on the Crimean shots, there's one of Mary Seacole standing outside the TARDIS with a really moody, almost like Wuthering Heights kind of lighting haze going on behind it. So again, are you creating these in the lens, or are they kind of, is it to do with things added afterwards?
It's a mix. I mean, that day was really nice. I mean, the kind of the art department and what they did that day was fantastic. I mean, it was horrible there. It was so muddy. It was like 6 inches of mud everywhere. And it was grim, and it was wet and cold and raining. It looked fantastic. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a good day. It was a horrible day, but really memorable one. That was another kind of a set of where we just kind of zip around where we could, trying to get a few shots in front of the TARDIS. And as you say, on Doctor Who, they use a lot of haze to kind of lots of smoke effects, and that just makes images look really nice. But you can kind of enhance it a little bit in Photoshop and things, but it's pretty much how it was during the day. bumping up a bit of the colours. But yeah, looks great.
But how do you make a sort of wet, miserable, cold day in Wales look somehow moody and exciting and inviting?
Still wet and
filled with adventure, isn't it?
You want to be there for it. What gear do you use?
So I use Sony cameras.
Okay.
And typically, I mainly use prime lenses, just because. So Doctor Who and a lot of other productions, they're obviously a lot of the time they're dark. They're quite dark, a lot of lighting. The darker the set, the more you can play with the light. So they're often quite very dark. So a nice prime lens is beneficial for getting as much light in as you can, and you get that much more cinematic look to the actual image. So I prefer them. So yeah, a bunch of Sony cameras and a load of primes.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting about lighting. I think we had a question from, was it Millie Mackenzie about lighting?
Yes, we
she
do.
Does the little clay sculptures, doesn't she?
Yeah. So her username is @CowBearCreates. You might have seen her work on Twitter. She makes these fantastic clay models of all the characters and
really good
and things. So she had a question about lighting, and said it's her biggest struggle. So how do you successfully light a subject without washing out all the subtleties of the colours?
So I mean, with digital, it's the first thing you've got to be doing is shooting in RAW.
Yeah.
So rather than not just JPEG, got to be shooting in RAW, so you can retain as much detail as possible, much color information. It's looking at the histogram on the camera to make sure you're not blowing out any highlights, so you're retaining as much info as you can. I mean, the Sony cameras are great because the amount of the range you can recover and boost and shadow and highlights is fantastic. In terms of kind of lighting, it's say the guys that work on the show, the DOPs, they do such a fantastic job anyway. I mean, what you see on screen is what I'm shooting from anyway. Sometimes when I'm getting a quick portrait shot, I will add in a light. I've got like an LED light that I'll bring, and often I'll get one of the guys, like the sound guys, to hold it for me, just to add a bit of light to enhance stuff. So I'll do that. But in terms of kind of not, washing out colors, it's just shooting in RAW. And the thing is with digital now, what you see is what you get on the back of the camera. So it
is amazing what you can bring back out, isn't it? I shoot with Blackmagic cameras, and you know that if it's not completely blown out, for example, like all white, there's still going to be data there that you can take the highlights down, mask
you can play with it.
And sometimes the stuff I've kind of not saved, that's not the right word, but the things that you've brought back out and the enhancements you've done is absolutely incredible.
You're quite lucky nowadays for that. The only times you've got to be careful is when there's like an explosion where it looks fine at the minute, but as soon as that fireball goes off, it's all going to be too bright. So you've got to kind of guess the exposure and maybe
you can't really do a lighting test when they're going to blow something up, can you? And it's
no, and they don't do it very often. It's usually one or two takes, and that's it. So you've got to kind of try and get it right first time.
Yeah.
This is where when you probably end up with about 150 shots of like a 1 second range, isn't it? I suppose, and one of those might just be the right one.
That's it. I mean, it takes so many shots. I say I took maybe 200,000 images for Flux, but a lot of that might be 100 shots of the same frame. You're just trying to get that one moment where someone's not blinking, what one eye shut, or there's a spark flying through the flame. When something's exploding, you take a lot of shots and just for that one image.
Yeah.
Do you ever find actually when you're looking through shots like that, there's one that you never, a certain frame that you never anticipated, and it suddenly looks brilliant, and you're like, that's the one I'm going to use?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially things like when the TARDIS is exploding and there's sparks flying everywhere, and you're kind of flicking through the frame, and you think, oh, I didn't, because at the time you don't see anything, you're just blinded. But when you're going back, that looks great. So often it's a case of sitting down at the end of the day and just going through them, marking the ones that look good. And sometimes you get lucky, as you say.
Yeah, that's got to be the time when you listen to podcasts, isn't it? When you're going through images and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Podcast and audiobook, stick it on and just spend a few hours going through them.
Brilliant.
Well, James, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Paul, that was all the questions I had. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask, or James, if you?
I could sit here and ask questions all night, but James has probably gone. I just want to ask about all of these photos because I'm just looking on your website over here, and honestly, I think the artistry. I hope you don't mind me saying, but I think you're sort of underselling yourself a little bit, James, because yes, there is credit to the lighting guys and the actors and everything else that goes around, but I couldn't just go into a set and just point a camera and hope to get great images. I think the creativity, the artistry, like you said earlier, the eye that you have to understand, that is going to be a good shot, and knowing the kit, everything. It's a skilled thing. It's a creative. It's an artistic thing. And when it all comes together in the universe of other artistry, it really shows, how beautiful these things can be. But we would never see them if you didn't take that picture, if you weren't part of that world.
And if someone else had done them, and they've connected with so many people because they they like what you've done, and also and Paul's right there on the having the eye, but it's also that the interaction with people. That shot that I mentioned of Jodie with a thumbs up, that wouldn't happen if you weren't a part of that family,
and we'd never see it.
No, totally. That's the fun thing about the job. It's a lot of the time, unit photographers, they might just sit with the main camera and shoot what's being filmed, but I think half the fun is running around the set, trying to get different angles, trying to get different lighting, especially with doing stills and changing lenses. You can get shots that maybe the camera can't, and you've done a really nice job when you see the DOP where you're sat and thinks, right, I'm going to move my camera to where the stills guy is, because that's a good shot. You've done good.
That must be a feeling of satisfaction in some ways. Like, I've seen that.
And also probably another good point is that Paul, you might remember as well, but in my memory,
I don't remember anything, mate.
I can't remember getting this much behind the scenes pictures on Who.
No, you're right, actually.
You get the odd bit, but in the people's interest in behind the scenes and stuff has grown over the years, but they obviously are really liking what you've been doing, and to put it out like this, and it really does feel like there's been a lot more like that, which I think helps kind of bring us as the audience into the the world, and I think helps strengthen those the sort of fondness people have for Jodie and Mandip and John and everything like that.
Yeah, it's not a fakeness. It's not like they finish filming and then they all go their separate ways and back into their trailers. They're all very much best of friends. And I think that only bolsters the show with the whole kind of Doctor and Yaz relationship. Offset, they're just as chummy. They're best friends. They're always messing about, having a laugh. And I think showing that just kind of it kind of encompasses it all together, and it helps promote the show. And that's what's happening. It's not fake. It's they're really nice, great people.
I think they're brilliant together, and we really like the whole lot, don't we, Paul? And
we certainly do, Jeff. Yes, indeed. And getting those personalities across is brilliant. I'm still mesmerised by that one of Sasha and Jodie under the umbrella. I think it's brilliant. It's good stuff. Yes. Oh dear, it's been a delight talking to you, James.
Thanks very much.
Really kind of open our eyes on a lot of the kind of back, behind the scenes creativity, and hopefully inspired a few more set photographers and show photographers, TV photographers. Who knows what technology the future is going to be like in a few years' time?
It will just be built into our heads, won't it? We'll blink and take.
We'll just snap. Well, that probably closes the aperture, Jeff. Than actually,
but depends how you built the hardware.
I understand how technology works and cameras and things.
And
or not, actually.
Thanks for taking a chance to come and chat with us. This was the first podcast you've done, and
no worries. It's been great.
Good. Hopefully, it wasn't terrifying. And
no, a little bit. No, it's fine. It's really enjoyed it. So it's just nice talking about Who, because I say I love working on it. I love the people on it. So to have a chat about it, and it's really nice thing to do. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, mate. It's brilliant. I just have to ask one last question, actually. So. Because you mentioned it in the chat when we were talking before this podcast that you're a bit of a geek. What are you geeky for?
I've an IT background prior to getting into photography, so I'm all about computers and cameras and gadgets and stuff. So anything like that, I'm into. Very much a gamer play a lot of games, things like that. So
what are you playing at the moment?
What games are you at the moment? Oh, there we go. Both on it.
We're off.
We're off now.
So yeah, a lot of the PC stuff. So a lot of kind of sci-fi games and things. Apex Legends, play that.
Yeah.
A lot of that. So yeah, do that kind of to unwind.
Yeah,
it's good fun.
What are you on at the minute, Jeff? What are you doing?
What game?
Yeah.
So I've been playing Tales of Arise on PS5, which is sort of that Final Fantasy type thing. So I've been really enjoying that. And I played Mario Kart 8 with my twin. Today. Well, my daughter twin. I haven't got a twin. And she's nearly 4. And she was doing quite well actually to start with.
It's scary how good kids are. I mean, I've got 2, and they can whoop me at Mario. Absolutely. And I thought I was pretty good at it.
Yeah, that's it. You think, I'm all right at this. Like then I watched my son play Mario, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they just whoop you at it.
He was playing Mario Odyssey a lot. Oh, Dad, I've got you another 6 stars today. Oh, brilliant! Thanks.
No, so good, so good.
Brilliant stuff. All right, James, we won't keep you any longer, my friend. Thank you so much again for jumping on.
No worries.
We really appreciate it. Wish you all the very best with the future, and fingers crossed that you get onto the Bad Wolf Doctor Who. We're looking forward
that'd be lovely. Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Good stuff.
All the best.
Take it easy.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, James.
Bye.
Take care, mate.
I found that very inspiring and extremely interesting, and it's been great to get an insight into the work for those brilliant photographs for the last couple of series of Doctor Who, and hopefully any wannabe photographers and even any photographers that are listening now have found some inspiration from what James has talked about in his work and his career path. So big thanks to James for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's really, really good of him. So we will be back again very soon with another Who Corner to Corner podcast, and we've got more guests lined up to join us soon. So we will see you very soon.
See you next time, dear listeners. Bye for now.
Bye.